Hey, what's going on, guys? Michael here. Come watch me draw Asta while I talk about the return of Black Clover. Now, before we get into this, I did reference this image right here, which was shown during the Black Clover Season 2 announcement. So, yeah, it's super hype. Now, obviously, we all know Black Clover is peak fiction, quite literally. It's an amazing show, I loved seeing Asta never give up, and the side cast is super fun to watch as well. But one thing I do hear a lot about what people have to say in terms of criticisms is the animation isn't that good at certain moments. And yeah, now that I'm reflecting back on it, it wasn't exactly the best. But at the same time, when the show was peaking, it was absolutely peaking. Like, I still remember around episode 100 or so. If you haven't watched Black Clover, I'm obviously going to talk about spoilers throughout this video. When they were fighting the reawakened elves, that whole segment was amazing. From, an Asta fighting Lick to just all the fights I'm trying to recall. The Wizard King fighting the demon. And I'm super hyped to see Asta's new transformation as well. I love drawing his new design. It is interesting to see how he's developed sort of a full body of armor, and it's cool to note that he has like these little battle scars and like a demon crown on his head. It is funny hearing though that in terms of manga, is getting all the cool power-ups while Asta only has his anti-magic. I'm not caught up, and I know chapter releases are slow, so I'll see to it if I can, but it's interesting to see how the creator of Black Clover differentiates themselves from other shows, from the power scaling of its side characters. Now obviously you had the vice captain of the Black Bulls shining from his little soul chain link or whatever, but more importantly, his rival Asta, is actually, super strong. He has all these cool abilities, and it kind of makes you wonder, is Asta gonna level up immensely even more to be able to compete with But yeah, I'm just excited to see his journey. Now, I haven't really looked into the news of the Black Clover anime return, but I do wonder if it's gonna come back weekly or seasonal, Either way, I don't really mind, but I think I would prefer seasonal, because the manga pace, as I mentioned before, isn't as fast as other mangas. And if we have seasonal seasons of Black Clover, we are gonna have better animation. That's just how it is as a whole. You have more, the studio period just has more time to work on their animations, balancing out with Bleach's final season, which I know they're gonna go crazy for. Also interesting to note that Black Clover was inspired by Bleach, and it's the same studio animating Bleach and Black Clover, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, cool to see that. But in this drawing here, I did kind of messed up drawing Asta's sword. It is bent. It is bent if you do look at it, but hey, it's all fine. I'm just drawing this for fun while I yap. But more into Black Clover, my favorite character would definitely be Asta. He just has so much, he's just so cool, Every time you think he's about to lose, his theme song plays, which is the opening of the first opening of Black Clover. And it's just always a hype moment when you watch anime and the opening starts playing. Something crazy is about to happen, and the fight will most likely be won. But speaking of winning fights, I actually didn't expect Asta and Yami to lose against that demon guy at the end, and Yami getting kidnapped as well. That was pretty crazy. And speaking of crazy, I drew his leg really bad here. That's on me. I'm still developing as an artist, but yeah, fixing him up, giving him some flies. And I'd say my favorite point in Black Clover was probably the return. There was a break in Black Clover and a return to a time skip, which I always love seeing time skips in anime. You get to see development in character and different character designs. Asta just came back so beefy and lean and muscular. it was just awesome, and he developed new techniques because he needs it for this new arc where everyone's gonna have demon powers. He needs to level up, and I do actually wonder what those little strands of aura are around Asta's waist I'm drawing. It was kind of hard to see the image in full because there was so much smoke and special effects, which made it look awesome, but I'm just trying to focus on the silhouette of the reference picture, and it's kind of hard to tell, so at some points I am just freestyling it, just making basic poses, also adding my own spin and art style, I guess you could say, to this piece here. Now, out of all of Asta's swords, by the way, I do think his giant sword, the one he started off with, is still my favorite, despite how he received Yami's katana, which is also really sick, but I just love how he has that berserk feel with guts, how he just swings around this giant hunk of metal and solos everyone. But yeah, I remember when Black Clover started airing, there was a lot of hate, and there still is a lot of hate of people saying it's another Naruto copy or another Bleach copy, from wanting to become the Hokage, which being parallel to becoming the Wizard King, and just using swords and magic. But I think at the end of the day, we shouldn't, it's not really fair to compare shows like that, as we're gonna get to a point where we're not always looking for something original, totally original, as everything has almost been done before. Those animes that are always mentioned are the pioneers, right? They've popularized certain tropes, such as never giving up, getting power-ups in the middle of a fight, a whole variety of different tropes. But I think it's always nice to just take the show for what it is. Black Clover is a really entertaining show, just watching it without thinking of comparisons. It's just really fun to watch Asta grow throughout the journey to become the greatest wizard in his kingdom, despite not having any magical powers. But I think by the end of the show, Asta will definitely become Wizard King, as opposed to, despite him being the rival, there may be some new position granted. Either he can still remain a captain, or there will be an even higher position, lower than Wizard King, though, but higher than captains. That, could be, I can see that happening. But I just don't see the show, or the manga, the story, progressing to a point where Asta isn't going to become the Wizard King. But that would be a crazy twist, though, now that I'm reflecting on it. It could be written in a way that's really well done, It could be a lesson about how you work really hard and you're at a status that's really high in your world, but sometimes things don't always go your way. But I think Asta's gonna get it, though. He's worked so hard. Has too, but Asta primarily has, a certain type of way he does things that just resonates with the audience, which I think is also why the show is so successful. It's super relatable, being in moments where you want to give up and you don't feel like pushing onwards, but if you just push yourself an extra step, extra few miles, you're gonna get to where you want to be, and hopefully Black Clover is gonna have a good ending, which I'm sure the author of Black Clover always cooks. They're gonna do well on it, and the art, actually, speaking of cooking, is always just so amazing nowadays with the newest chapters. If you look at, the side-by-side comparisons from the beginning of the series to the end of the series, not the end, but, the current step in the series, the art is certainly improved a lot, and for like a weekly/monthly manga, it's amazing. I'd also like to say that, My Hero Academia and also so many of these other mangas have improved their art throughout the series, which is also a common thing to happen. But Black Clover, I just really like the stylistic choices that went into the changes in the art. It's subtle, but it focuses more heavily on its just character designs and the way the author draws the eyes. I really enjoy that aspect. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this far if you have, and I'd say reflecting back on this drawing, I would have drawn his sword more straight and I would have made his legs a little more realistic looking, but I really enjoyed drawing the wings, and that was my favorite part to draw. See you.